I need to have an honest conversation with you today. Every single week, I get flooded with messages from people wanting to become cloud engineers. And yeah, I'm usually the guy telling you about all the amazing opportunities in the cloud. And those opportunities are definitely there. I just checked LinkedIn last week, 3,500 cloud engineer jobs in the US alone. And with the industry growing at 16% yearly, it's not slowing down anytime soon. But what if this career isn't the right choice for you? If you're new here, hi, I'm Suleiman. I've worked in tech for 10 years, and today I help businesses scale and secure their AWS cloud infrastructure through my consultancy. And here is the thing. Sometimes the reality of working as a cloud engineer isn't exactly the dream you might have envisioned. And there are loads of misconceptions floating around about what this job is actually like. And I want to make sure you know exactly what you're getting into. Think of it like becoming a footballer. Sure, it's an amazing career and you can make a lot of money. But what if you're not prepared for the scrutiny, the spotlight, and all the drama that can come with it? Exactly. Quick heads up, you can grab my beginner's guide to the cloud and join over 10,000 engineers accelerating the cloud journey for free. Link in the description. So, don't become a cloud engineer if you're like this. Starting with number one, if you're not committed to continuous learning. The cloud landscape changes constantly. New services launch, best practices evolve, and security requirements shift. Now, AWS alone releases hundreds of updates every single month. And cloud architecture today looks completely different to just 3, 4, 5 years ago. Think about accountants. There are new tax laws and regulations every year. But the principles of accounting, profit, credit, balance sheets, and general foundations haven't really changed in a long time. Maybe an accountant will take a course once a year to stay up to date and competent, but as a cloud engineer, it's not possible. When you are on the job, you are learning new things, of course, but there's also an exception, and you might call it a little bit toxic. But it's the reality. Everyone expects you to be upskilling and learning away from working hours. When I was working in my 9 to 5, I would be studying for AWS exams after work just to increase my knowledge, and my employer used to give me a bonus for each one that I would pass and complete. Not bad, eh? But it's also a case of having to unlearn concepts and relearn new ones that you thought you mastered. Now, you can't just learn container orchestration and then just leave it on the side. It's like a never-ending treadmill, and you just simply can't get off it. Even if you have to go slow, you have to keep running. That's what it's like working as a cloud engineer, and it's similar to any other tech role in that aspect. It was the same when I was working as a software engineer very early on in my career. So you just have to be prepared for that continuous learning. Secondly, don't become a cloud engineer if you are a solo player who prefers working in isolation. You can't be a lone wolf. You're not a freelance developer that can go off and work in isolation for a week. You always having to collaborate and work with other teams. There is no hiding behind your laptop. You will need to face clients, understand their requirements, and figure out how to solve their problems. Now, a typical day for me as a cloud engineer would be starting at around 9 a.m. I'd have a stand-up call with our team discussing any app deployment needs, for example. An hour later, I could be in a security review meeting talking about new microservices architectures, talking about a new project that's going live. Sometimes you have to have lunch on your desk while still being on a call because a production issue has flared up and you need to jump on a call with a team in a different region. And the afternoon could involve a workshop with the database team about migration strategies. You're going to be working with people from different teams and different skills from different areas around the world. And just being a technically brilliant engineer isn't enough anymore. Third, don't become a cloud engineer if you suffer from analysis paralysis. Now, how I like to see the cloud is like those buffets I used to go to as a kid. So many options, all of your favorite food in one place, to the point where you didn't even know where to start. A huge part of your role as a cloud engineer is being able to make decisions quickly, and that's not easy. There are over 200 AWS services, and each one comes with multiple configurations, pricing models, and integration possibilities. You could spend weeks and months analyzing every single possible combination, but that's not how successful cloud engineering works. Instead, you need what we like to call a good enough approach. You find a solution that works with the tools available right now. Build it, deploy it, and then improve it based on real usage. This eliminates the endless planning cycles that can paralyze projects. Now, in cloud engineering, perfect is often the enemy of good. You need to be comfortable with making decisions with about 80% of the information that you ideally like to have. It's better to make good decisions quickly than to make a perfect decision too late. I've seen projects stall for months because engineers couldn't decide between different service options, only to find that by the time they decided, there was a new and better option available. The truth is, there's loads of ways for you to solve a problem, but you have to decide based on the project and the requirements from your client. And there's a million ways that you can solve the same problem. And that's why decisiveness is crucial in this field. Fourth, don't become a cloud engineer if you're not willing to embrace automation. Now, for a lot of people that work in tech, even some of my old colleagues did have an anti-automation mindset. I can't quite put my finger on it as to why. Maybe they were just stuck in their old ways. And this isn't just about knowing how to automate, it's about having an automation first mindset. Now, traditional IT might let you get away with manual processes, but in the cloud, that's a recipe for disaster. Why? Well, because as I've said before, everything that you're doing needs to be fast, and automation allows you to do this. For example, the UK police force cut their deployment time from 2 days down to just 8 hours using automated deployment tools. Now, 8 hours still seems like quite a lot of time. Maybe they need some of my help to slash that even further. That reminds me of a company that I consulted for a few years back, and they had manual processes for their deployments. It would take 4 to 5 hours and required so many different engineers to coordinate their changes. They resisted automation because the manual processes worked. Now, 6 months later, they had a critical security patch that needed to be deployed to hundreds of services. Now, if we hadn't automated their deployments, the manual process would have taken weeks. And with automation, it took hours. And that's why you need to embrace automation. And by the way, if these reasons haven't put you off a career in cloud engineering, then consider joining my Cloud Engineer Academy. I'll take you from beginner to job-ready cloud engineer in just 12 weeks. And don't take my word for it, go check out Jay's story. He went from banking with no IT experience to cloud hired in just a few months. Link in the description. Next, don't be a cloud engineer if you hate being the bearer of bad news. Now, you often find yourself needing to deliver uncomfortable truths. I've had to tell my clients in the past that their planned 3-month migration will actually take at least 6 months and cost them twice as much as they thought. Now, another time I had to explain to a development team that their entire architecture needed to be redesigned for security reasons, effectively delaying their projects for 2 months. These conversations aren't fun, but they are necessary. Cloud engineering is about managing expectations and being transparent. So if you can't handle being the person who sometimes has to say no or deliver news that no one wants to hear, but they need to hear, then you are going to struggle in this role. And to be honest, this is also a great mentality or habit to form in general. For example, I'm running multiple businesses, and that means I'm constantly facing new opportunities. People want to work with you, partner up, or even pitch new business ideas. Now, as you become more successful, these opportunities just multiply. But trying to pursue everything will spread you too thin. The best entrepreneurs really get good at saying no. Not because they want to let people down, but because they know taking on too much means they're doing nothing great. You'll see lots of ways to make money or grow your business. Now, the hard part isn't finding the opportunities, it's choosing which ones to ignore. Every time you say yes to something, you're saying no to something else by default, since you only have so much time and energy. Now, the best entrepreneurs don't try and chase every promising deal. Instead, they pick their direction carefully and stick to it for a long period of time. Okay, next up, not adopting a security-first mindset. In traditional IT, you might have had a dedicated security team handling all security aspects. You'd build your application or your infrastructure, and then the security team would swoop in and run their checks, add their security layers, and then give you the green light if they are happy, which isn't often. In the cloud, that model completely fails. Why? Well, because security needs to be baked into everything that you do, from your initial architecture designs to your daily operations. It isn't just another box to tick. It's a mindset that should influence every decision that you make. When you launch a new EC2 instance, your first thought should be about its security group configurations and not its specific performance specs. When you set up a new S3 bucket, you should be thinking about its access policies before you even consider what you're going to store in it. And this is why we went over continuous learning as the first reason, because cloud security isn't static. New vulnerabilities are discovered daily. Attack methods evolve constantly. Cloud providers update their security features and best practices often. And if you're not willing to adopt this mindset, then cloud engineering probably isn't for you. And finally, Don't become a cloud engineer if you are not interested in the business side of tech. Companies move to the cloud to reduce cost and scale more efficiently. It's a business decision to become more profitable. Research shows that workloads moving to the cloud can reduce total cost of ownership by up to 40%, and companies that use the cloud effectively see 21% more profit and grow 26% faster than their competitors who don't. Now, getting these benefits takes careful planning and smart decisions. Sometimes the cheapest option now isn't the best choice long term. You might be running on-demand instances that seem expensive compared to managing your own servers, but being able to scale down when the demand drops could save you millions over the years. Now, if you didn't get that, remember, companies not using cloud have to manage their own physical hardware and servers on-premise. Take Black Friday. With traditional servers, you need to have enough hardware to handle the holiday rush, but these servers sit unused for the rest of the year. But in the cloud, you pay more per hour, but only when you need it. So instead of spending, for example, $50,000 on servers that's barely used for most of the year, you might spend $10,000 a year by scaling up only during peak times and scaling down when it's quiet. Now, every architecture decision a cloud engineer makes affects the company's finances. Now, don't get me wrong, it's not about becoming a financial analyst. It's about understanding how your technical decisions impact the business. Now remember, if you've watched until this point and realized that a few of these traits are the ones that you have, that doesn't mean you can't become a cloud engineer. It just means that you are aware of what you need to do now and the things you have to change if you really want to pursue this career. You know, being able to adapt and grow is in fact a great skill in itself. And if you're interested in a career in cloud engineering, then check out this video right here where I break down exactly how I learned the cloud in 3 months and actually got a job.